What's going on, guys? This is VinylicPuma, back with another Borderlands 2 video for you guys, and today I wanted to go over the newly released Borderlands 2 4K Ultra HD Texture Pack that came out literally today. Now, beyond just textures, this pack also improves some other things as well, like it improves some of the geometry rendering on some of the guns, and it also improves some of the shadow quality as you're walking through the environments. But for the most part, and for the majority of this video, I'm going to be focusing on the texture upgrades because there are definitely some really great improvements here, and then there are some that are kind of meh, and then there are some that it doesn't even look like they got improved at all. Also, and as far as my PC specs are concerned, I have a GPU, which is going to be my GTX 1080 Ti, and then my CPU is an AMD Ryzen 1800X. So I don't have the latest and greatest hardware, but I do have something that's fairly decent, and everything should look pretty good in 4K 60. And hopefully, if you're watching this video, it will be rendered in 4K 60. But enough intro, let's get into the video now, and all of these pictures are going to be in like a random order, but we'll just go ahead here and start with this Banshee class mod. Now, there are a lot of things that got modified here, and as you can see with this Banshee class mod, there's not really a huge difference. However, if we move on to this next thing, you'll notice with our B shield, you'll notice that around like the little dial or like the odometer thing on the left, you'll notice that the texture quality is improved somewhat, and everything does look a little bit tightened up. We have the bonus package, and this is actually one of the more interesting things. I guess when they implemented a lot of this stuff, some of it is kind of glitched right now, because you can see in the after this whole update has been applied thing, you'll notice that the actual lights don't work for some reason. Maybe this is just a small bug, but it is what it is. Moving on to the Butcher here, this is one of the ones that I kind of feel like it's improved, but it's also kind of worse. You'll notice in the before picture that the actual barrels are a little more defined, while in the after picture, they actually look a little less defined. But if you look below in that like white area or the white stripe in the gun, it does seem like there are textures that were improved there, which is kind of weird. Also, here's another angle of the Butcher, and again, you can kind of see, I actually think that the before picture looks a little bit better here, but maybe that's just me, and maybe you prefer the after picture. Here's Miss Moxie's crit, which, if you ask me, there's not really a huge difference between these two. As for the ground textures here, this is where you really start to see the bigger difference. And really a lot of the texture improvements that they made were, I think, made to the environments. So you can see here this ground and sanctuary, and if we move over to this next picture, this is actually in the Arid Nexus Badlands, and you can actually see in like the grayer gravel areas, they actually removed some of the actual stuff there, and it's a lot more sparse in the after picture. And then moving on to this next one that is in the dust, you can definitely see that the after picture looks a lot more defined than the before picture, and overall the after picture is a big improvement. My guess with a lot of these textures is what they really tried to focus on was improving the really ugly textures and making them look a lot better. And as you can see here with this turtle shield, you notice in the before picture, the turtle shield's back looks ugly as heck. And if you look at the after, it looks a lot more respectable and looks just way better. Now, here's the Unkempt Herald. I think there are some slight differences here in the grip, but otherwise, and to be honest with you guys, I can't really tell much of a difference here. Although, that said, if you do look kind of towards the barrel of the gun and the tip where the projectiles come out, you can see the better geometry, where I think in the original picture, you'll notice that there's like this kind of like crude dome, while in the after picture it looks a lot more rounded, and you can kind of see an indentation where the bullets will actually come out. Now here's a spiker. You can't really tell much. There's not really that much of a difference between these two. However, if we move on to this next thing, which is going to be the Infinity, again, like I mentioned earlier with the Unkempt Herald, you'll notice that there's just a lot better geometry going on here. Like if you look at the really like end of the barrel of the gun, you'll notice how it's kind of like hexagonal or octagonal, where in the after image, it's a lot more rounded and you can kind of see an indentation where the bullets were, where they would be coming out. Interestingly, I actually kind of think this is kind of better and worse, because if you look at the blue base where the projectiles come out in that before picture, I actually think that looks a little bit better than the post picture where the 4K Ultra HD update has been applied. Now, here we have the interfacer, and you'll notice what I did here is I tried to take a good picture of the grip, and you'll notice in the before picture, it looks a lot looser and less defined, while in the after picture, it looks a lot more defined, and it just looks like it's better texture work overall. Here are some more class mods, starting with the Legendary Gunzerker class mod. Honestly, I can't really tell much of a difference between these. You've also got the Legendary Siren. Maybe the post picture looks a little better for the Legendary Siren, but again, it's so close that it's sort of hard to tell. And moving on to our next picture here, which is going to be for the butt of the gun, or the butt of the pistol for the Rex, or like the very bottom of that grip, you'll notice that there's not really a whole lot of difference here. They didn't really change the textures a whole bunch, but I do think that they cleaned things up some. Like you'll notice in the before picture, there's like this kind of weird red line going through, and maybe it's just the angle that I took with these pictures because they are a little different, but you'll notice in the post picture that that's not there at all. Now, moving back to some environmental textures, these are all areas in Sanctuary, but you'll notice here that in this before image, the before image just looks hideous, and in the after image, it looks like way better, so they definitely improved the textures here. There's also this wall, which I believe is near scooters, and then this one's kind of interesting because it's like they totally scrapped the original texture and they made an entirely new one maybe. Either way, it looks a lot better, and again, it's another testament to the 4K Ultra HD update. Moving on to this next thing, we have a roof texture, and as you can see, the 4K Ultra HD update is a massive improvement over those original textures. And of course, we've also got another wall object here, and again, the texture quality in the original, it was just so low that once it's been boosted a bit by this update, you can see that it just looks way better, and it really, I'm kind of surprised that these didn't even show up in the original game. And as you can see here with this Crimson Raiders poster, you'll see in the original version, or original PC version, you'll see here that it just looked like crap and it's low pixel, low resolution. And of course, they really bumped up the resolution with this 4K Ultra HD update. So you can see that here right now. Here's another one, and this one is actually found in Miss Moxie's bar. This is just like a window, and you can kind of see in the original PC version, the texture quality of this was just so low. And of course, with the Ultra HD update, they totally redid this texture, or they totally up-resed it. They did something, but again, this just looks way better as well. This next one, I'm not actually sure if I like the original or the newer version more. On the one hand, you could see in the after version that the texture quality, or at least it looks a lot better, it looks sharper. But the original, I almost kind of like the original more because it looks a little bit more natural. Like you'll notice around like the bullets, it looks more painted on, where there are these like weird lines on the after image. So I don't know what I think about this one. For this next texture, this is of course just like one of those like little, I guess, chimney things in Sanctuary. And you can see if you look kind of closely at the top of the little chimney thing, you'll notice that the texture quality is a little bit better. And there are extra details there that aren't in the original. So overall, I actually really like a lot of the improvements that we got here. Mostly, it seems like many of them are for the environments, but there are a few cases where some of the guns look better, and then there are, of course, a few cases where some of the guns look worse. In general, though, and considering that this is a free DLC or free update for Borderlands 2, I do like that they went back and redid a lot of the textures. Hopefully they'll continue working on this thing, and if you are wondering about a recommendation to download this thing or not, if you're a big fan of Borderlands 2 and you already own it on the PC, and you have a fairly decent or modern computer, I would definitely recommend this because it does make a lot of the environments look way better. Otherwise, guys, I think that's going to wrap up this particular video. I had to get this thing together quick, so sorry for my ums and uhs, but otherwise, guys, like this video if you liked it, click the bell so you can be notified when I upload more videos, and as always, and again, thank you all so much for supporting this channel. Take care, and I'll see you all in the next one.